All right. All right. We are live for the Sankofa Summer School opening ceremony. So happy to have everyone here. I am Feminisa Jones. I am the founder of the Sankofa Summer School. I also have a Wikipedia page that I don't like. So I don't know what to say about myself. I don't know. I'm an author. I guess I'm an activist. I'm an educator. I am somebody who loves my people more than anything in this world. And I am so committed to our liberation that the work that we talk about doing, like everybody's always talking about the work. What is the work? What is the work? I'm somebody who believes that so much of the work is, as Angela Davis says, talking about liberating people's minds. We can't get anything done if we don't change the way people think about the world around them and the people in it. And so what Sankofa Summer School hopes to do is to expand your knowledge, to increase your awareness, to diversify your way of thinking, to expose you to some new ideas and some new things, to connect you with other powerful people that are educators and activists and motivators and influencers and artists and politicians and all kinds of people that are involved in making the world a better place in their own ways of doing it. So I'll read what I wrote about the Sankofa Summer School. What is it? Sankofa Summer School began as an idea the founder, Feminisa Jones, that's me, held on to into her head, inspired by all the dynamic educators in her community. She decided to create a space for people to learn from some of the most brilliant minds. And you will meet some of those brilliant minds tonight. I'm so happy that you all are here. This is using this Afrocentric approach, and this is very, very important. So I hope that if you end up coming late, you're able to go back and watch this. But for those of you that are here, it is very important for you to understand what we mean by the Afrocentric approach. And I'm pausing just because when people talk about Afrocentric and Afrocentricity, they usually get it wrong. And I am a direct mentee and advisee of Dr. Molefi K. Asante, who created Afrocentricity decades ago. And so it's super important for me. So using an Afrocentric approach, I created this school, which is a series of classes and workshops designed to educate people about the lives and the work of Africana people around the world. Why do we say Africana people? We mean people of the African diaspora, the original people, the people from where all things come from, all cultures come from, okay? The school runs during summer months, and students are encouraged to set aside time for their personal enlightenment and the opportunity to build community with new people. What is the Afrocentric approach? Dr. Molefi K. Asante developed Afrocentricity as a theoretical framework in the 1980s. Since then, brilliant scholars have expanded the Afrocentric paradigm, giving us a template to guide our educational praxis. Simply, being Afrocentric means centering Africana people in their own narratives and making them the subjects, not the objects of other people's stories. For most of us, our learning experiences have been primarily Eurocentric. We learned that European ways of being and knowing are best and universally applicable. Afrocentricity challenges this notion of European and white supremacy and encourages us to center ourselves as Africana people first and foremost, okay? So a lot of times when we talk about what it means to be Afrocentric, a lot of people think it means taking on an African name, changing your name, wearing Ankara or other things like that. All of that is what we call Africanity, negritude. It is a production, is a show of solidarity and connection, but it doesn't necessarily mean being Afrocentric. If you're wearing a dashiki and you're quoting Maslow's hierarchy of needs, you're not being Afrocentric. Because where does Maslow get it from, right? When you think about your education over the years and everything you've learned all the European philosophers, and you've never been taught to question whether or not the things that they say apply to you in your life as a non-white person, as a woman, as whatever, right? So what Afrocentricity says is we deserve to be the center of our own stories. We deserve to tell our own stories. We deserve to have our stories valued, okay? And be seen as equally important and vital. And so that's what I want to do here. That is why every year, the Sankofa Summer School, all the instructors will be people of the African diaspora, okay? And as you can see this year, I started with all Black people who identify as women, because that's just the best way to start it off. African women around the world are just it. I don't know what else to say. Like, I just love it. I love to be in the space with them. I have first generation Americans. I have people whose parents are not from the United States, which is super important. People not born in the United States, super important. I have sisters here that are bilingual or trilingual, speak multiple languages. I have women that are queer, self-included. I have women that are older, right? Women over 40. I have women under 30. I have women that are doctors. I have women that are just every day, wake up, just be who I am, brilliant, right? We have artists. We have people that work in the political spaces. We have all kinds of, we have disabled women that are in this space. We have teachers that have been undergoing treatments for things and it's still shown up for me and for us in this community. So I just really want to give you the opportunity to learn a little bit about each person that is here. We are so happy that you are here and thankful. We see the people that are watching. If you are a student, we'll be able to send this to you and you'll be able to watch it afterwards. So first I want to bring in, I'm going to try to go in chronological order of this, what you call them. I'm going to add in Blair Imani. I can't hear.
You caught me Instagramming. Thank you so much for having me, Feminista.
Totally fine. So we're so honored to have you here and your class, Getting Smarter in Seconds. You have been doing the Smarter in Seconds brilliance for some time now, and you are absolutely changing lives by educating people. And you're one of the first people I thought of for this, because I wanted somebody who's already out here kind of doing this educational work to come in and share her brilliance. Just give people a little snippet of the class, but tell them who you are. Introduce yourself and tell them who you are.
Absolutely. My name is Blair Imani. I use she, her pronouns. I'm Black, bisexual, Muslim. I'm a woman. I'm cisgender. I'm an author, educator, historian, and influencer. And Feminista Jones was the first person to give me a personal brand training. So all of the things that you see of me on Instagram, on the internet, is thanks to Feminista Jones. The continuity. So my brand is all about getting smarter, and that's what my class is about as well. But really thinking about smartness and intelligence and who has access to these things. And I'll be using frameworks from Miss Sadie Roberts Joseph, who embodied, Dr. Malefio Sante's, sense of Afrocentricity. And it's just going to be very exciting for me because there's so many issues when it comes to Eurocentricity and when it comes to evaluations of mental health and intelligence, and basing all of these things on a very externalized sense of what does it mean to be a person, what does it mean to think, to be intelligent. The fact is that there is no such thing as stupid people. These are constructs created by white supremacy in order to invalidate people. What there is cognitive differences. What there is neurodiversity. And so how do we get to these understandings, not using the terminology created by Europeans to subvert the European ideologies, but to actually go beyond that and look to Miss Sadie Roberts Joseph and additional scholars like Dr. Shea Kilmclean, who's also a colleague of mine, and really approach this in a full-fledged sense so that we're not filling gaps, we're actually recognizing that this structure is inadequate and we actually have one from our own people that's far more robust.
I love it. And this is going to challenge all of us, right? Because ableism is one of those things that remains, that particularly as people of the diaspora who have felt oppressed in so many ways, it's so easy for us to slip into becoming oppressors. And ableism is one of the ways that happens. So thank you so much for that class. We're so happy to have you. I'm going to pull you out, and I'm trying to think, I think Anoa goes next. We're going to shout out Anoa Changa. She is recovering right now. She will be available for her class, but she needed some rest. And we are supporters of Black women resting. Please rest if you need that rest. So she's there. But I'm going to pull in Dr. Latoya Baldwin-Clark, who is coming in. I have known this woman forever now. Once you get past 20 years, it's forever.
It's forever.
I've known this sister forever. She did a IG live. Also, Blair had done an IG live with us. So Dr. Baldwin Clark has done this as well. She's another educator. She's at UCLA. This woman is super brilliant. This JD PhD who is doing critical race theory work and is in this law space. And so I was like, who else can I bring in? Who can I bring in? And one of the first people, again, to come to my mind was this brilliant scholar. Tell them a little bit about yourself and then what your class is going to be.
Sure. So again, I'm Latoya Baldwin-Clark. I am an assistant professor at UCLA. School of Law. I'm also a professor by courtesy in the Department of African American Studies, as well as the Sociology Department at UCLA. I'm a core faculty member in the Critical Race Studies program. We are the only such program at any law school in the country, and we've been doing this critical race study work since the 1970s. The class that I'm going to do is really about talking what is critical race theory. There is a lot of misinformation out there, not just from the right, but there's a lot of people who are allies who aren't quite getting critical race theory right. And so part of what I want to do is to really kind of say, what is critical race theory? And I'm also using my class as thinking about storytelling. I am a storyteller. I do a lot of writing of personal reflections about what it means to be a woman, what it means to be Black, what it means to have a mental illness, what it means to be a mother. And I want to be able to bring that type of storytelling into critical race theory, where storytelling is a large part of what critical race theory is about allowing, as FJ said, allowing our people to be able to tell our own stories, to push back on what we continue to be this linear idea that we've had this great racial progress since the civil rights movement of the 1950s and 1960s. And so that we can tell our own stories of what racism and what race looks like for us and our people. And that's something I really want to be able to cultivate in the hour, which is a very short amount of time, but to start having those conversations and be able to start telling our own stories as part of a critical race praxis of being.
Absolutely. And you know what? That is exactly what Afrocentricity is about. It is about storytelling. I mean, for those of you that have been to college and have participated in any kind of qualitative or research type of thing, they always tell you to be objective. They always tell you to stand outside and kind of observe. But what we do in Afroecology and in our studies is we're like, no, we are part of our community. No one can tell our stories like us. And in order to tell those stories authentically, we have to be there in that. We have to be in that space. We have to immerse ourselves in that space and be able to tell those stories. And it's not just observing, it is participatory. So definitely, I love that angle. And we are looking so forward to having you, in that space, and kind of thinking along that line of when you're talking about arts and storytelling and being our own griots and celebrating that. I'm going to bring in Nikki Irene, who is going to be teaching because she's our resident artist. So here's the thing. It's like when I'm thinking about the overlap with the people that are teaching, it's like people are doing different things, but everybody has their area of expertise. And when I thought about it, I said, we have to have something related to art. We have to do, Africana art. Like, what are we doing here? And so I thought of one of my best friends in the whole world. I was like, she's a brilliant artist. I've got her art all in my house and all in my phone case and everything. She is great. But I want to introduce to you all Nikki Irene, who is a really amazing, dope artist. During COVID, one of the things she did was she opened up a weekly, painting class where people could just come and sip and paint and didn't have to pay nothing for it, though. We of course we donated for the time, but it was so healing and so important and so necessary for so many of us. And I just kind of wanted to shout that out. But please, Nikki, tell the people a little bit about yourself and a little bit about what your class is going to cover.
That was such a beautiful introduction. I don't even know what to say. I appreciate you asking me to be a part of this. Essentially, I'm a community cultivator. I'm an artist. I volunteer with a lot of people who just need help. I work in cancer support and research. I'm actually literally living with cancer right now. I do a little bit of everything. My original place in the world was branding, marketing, design, things like that. But I've been painting since I was a very little girl. My parents, thankfully, were very good at harnessing my talents. They allowed me to take really expensive art classes and stuff like that. And as I got older, I learned that art is what we see is Eurocentric in nature, and it doesn't have to be that way. So my class is going to be kind of an opportunity to look at the historical documentation that artists create, because we create the things that we see. And as we've been talking about what it's like to live in an Afrocentric space, an Afrocentric mindset, where we get the opportunity to tell our stories from we are the center of the stories. We are not answering for whiteness. We're not answering to whiteness. We are not saying, well, white people did this, so we're going to do this. We're not even thinking about that. We already made our own art. We made our own stuff. We make our own things, our own music, our own dances, our own clothing, our own hair. I mean, even our hair is art. I would like the opportunity to teach my class what it's like to tell a story from your own perspective and not as a response to someone else. And we'll be going over some Black artists, they will be women, to talk about how the things that they made, the things they created, literally are historical documentation, and how the art that we are taught in history class tends to be Eurocentric, and how we also see that it's not necessarily telling the truth, because it's telling the story that they wanted to be repeated, while Black artists are telling just what they're looking at, what they're hearing, what they're seeing, what they're tasting, what they're smelling.
Yeah. No, that's so important. Like, again, kind of going in that same theme, we have the right to be the center of our own narratives. We have to tell the truth, however that comes, whether we are writing it, speaking it, signing it, painting it, photographing it. It does not matter. We have to tell our own stories. And that is the power of this particular type of school and this type of education. So I'm so happy that you're here. Thank you so very much. And when I think about power, when I think about how we exist in particularly in the United States, but definitely in other places, and this is backwards, and I'm sorry, y'all, I keep playing with my collar and I'm like, it's just driving me up the wall. But when I think about that, I think about political power, right? And so we have two courses that are going to touch on politics. One of our instructors could not be here today, and we are sending her the best of well wishes. But I am going to bring in Sister L. Joy Williams. We recently did an Instagram Live as well. Many of you watched that and got a little taste of preview. But for those who didn't, L. Joy Williams is everyone. She's everything. She is, wow. She's just, I don't, you know.
I'm every woman. I'm Shaka.
You are. You are. And so she's the president of the Brooklyn NAACP. She is a political campaign strategist to the stars. She just closed on a house today. So we are all in the studio in the back, like shouting out and applauding, you know, and celebrating these moves that these fantastic women are making. But again, when I started thinking, who do I want to be a part of this? Who do I want to be a part of this? There was no question that I needed to have L. Joy Williams here. So again, like the others, just tell the people who you are and just give us a brief, introduction to what your class is going to be about. Yours it was close to selling out as well. I just want to mention Latoya's class sold out, Blair's class sold out, my class sold out, and everybody else's came within like 4 or 5 seats of being sold out. So I'm so honored and happy, and people just want to learn from you all. So tell them a little bit about that, what you're going to be doing.
Good evening, everyone. I'm L. Joy Williams, and I wear many hats, but I'm a political strategist. I'm president of Brooklyn NAACP, have worked in politics for over close to 25 years now, if not more. And I live here in Brooklyn, New York, and our class, and I'm saying our class is going to be about civics and civics beyond Election Day. Obviously, what happens, particularly in our communities, is that our communities get pumped up for the big elections, presidentials and mayors and governors. But there's a lot that happens in between election days where we have a muted voice, or we don't believe we have an entry point to be engaged. And that's everything from policy to legislation to the water board that may exist in our communities. So what we're going to do in our class is we're going to talk about civics beyond Election Day. And again, using the tradition, we are going to use as an example the teaching of Mother Sister Septima Clark, who, along with numerous folks during the modern civil rights era, which we talk about during the 60s and 70s, created civic education classes that address the needs of the people, and then was able to use that for people to build power. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about examples of how you do that. You're going to participate by sharing your first civic action. And so you'll be engaged in it, because politics is engagement. You have to engage. Politics happens whether or not you engage or not, but it's more fun when your voice is at the table.
Absolutely. And I'm excited for that, because I'm going to be at all the classes, because I get to, because, I started the school. But I'm so excited for everything that everybody has to offer. And it's interesting, because I've worked with so many of these women, if not all, I have worked with all of you. Okay. And in some way, shape, or form. If you notice that there was a banner there, it's actually a banner for everyone. I forgot to click them. So that tells you the kind of day we're having here, folks. But you know what? It's live entertainment, and we're all here. So the next person I'd like to bring in, we're shifting gears just a little bit. Latoya mentioned, Dr. Baldwin Clark mentioned being a mom. And I'm going to bring in my favorite doula, my favorite, just baby carrier. Like, she just, all the babies that have come and landed in this woman's hands are just going to be blessed beyond measure. I've known Evelyn, again, I feel like almost forever. We're getting to 20
We're cousins now.
Yeah, we just cousins, just cousins. And it's really interesting, because there's been a lot of discourse lately on two areas. One, about Black maternal health. Mm-hmm. And I think that we focus so much on the tragedy and the pain, but not enough on the people that are doing the work that needs to be done. Absolutely. To make our experiences better. And so I knew that I wanted a class with somebody who can talk to us about these other ways that we are going about taking care of our own mothers and our children and our parents and things like that. And in African, like, being a doula, to me, that is African. That is purely African. And before these colonizers come and decide to co-opt doulas, I want to make sure that people are getting the information that they need. So why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself and what your class is going to cover?
Sure. I am a mom, a sister, a doula, a trainer, where I do quite a bit of training around parenting, how it shows up, as well as preparing my clients and other people on the labor of childbirth, and also what it looks like to reintegrate as a parent after you have a child. I also do a lot of work in the restorative justice space. And so I think that this is just such a beautiful complement to some of the other classes, or all of the other classes, because in restorative justice, we get to tell our story, right? With a doula, when you have a great relationship with a person that is helping you through a really critical, vulnerable time in your life, you get to tell your story, have somebody listen, right? And really think about what that looks like. And so through this class, we'll be able to identify and practice strategies for self-reflection with compassion. Because I think that often, especially at the end of the summer, where we start getting like real serious about life, right? It's I like, right? I take all the time that we have like mahogany moments. Remember when Diana was like, do you know what you're going through? That's the things that life, right? So
yes.
We get to use some of the really beautiful, loving, affirming practices that we have as doulas, and be able to apply those to our lives in other areas. And we're talking about like all types of things, right? Getting your money right is a health issue. Getting your reproductive life right is a health issue. So all these things, and we'll be using a lot of information from this book, Nurture by Erica Chidi Cohen, who is a Black doula.
I love it. Shout out to, I asked the instructors, please use Black sources, and it was so easy. And also, you are an Afro-Latina, right?
I am a Garifuna Afro-Latina. So my family is from Guatemala. So I speak Spanish. I speak a little bit of Garifuna. So yeah, we out here.
That's right. And I love it. I love the representation for that. Thank you so much for joining us, because that is so super important that we are talking about self and care and taking care of yourself and reproductive rights. I mean, reproductive justice comes from us. Like, again, I'm making a point here. I just hope that at the end of this whole thing, people understand the damn point that I'm making. And my main point is, if I need something done, I know a Black woman that can do it. She probably wrote the book on it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm really appreciating everybody that's coming through for that. But I want to also bring in Cece Olisa. Come on. Because if we're talking about this care, we're talking about this body, we're talking about taking care of ourselves. I think your class is so important. And I remember one person, they wrote and they said, you know, I need to take this class. They couldn't afford it. Well, we have financial aid. That's from the other side. Well, thank you to our donors. Those of you that are watching, we've had some generous donors. 37% of the people attending Sankofa Summer School are doing so because they received a grant from our generous donors who came in. I am our cooperative economics, collective responsibility, people came together to make sure that those who couldn't afford the classes could still come. And so we really appreciate our donors for doing that. And I had someone who said, I really need this class. I think this is the one that I could benefit from. And so I was so happy to see that, because I was like, who better to learn from than this dynamic, amazing woman who has changed the game for plus size women, for larger women, for building confidence, for being in fashion. Let me tell y'all something. I am 42 years old. I grew up as a fat girl whose options were to look like my grandmother going to church on Sunday or a potato sack. And sometimes you couldn't tell the difference. And there was no way to think about how to dress, how to present my inner self. And I remember being online and coming across your work and being like, wow, what I would not have given to have had this as a teenager, or, you know, all the things that I went through just because I wasn't exposed to anybody who actually had that confidence and was just smart about things and wonderful. And this woman has turned this, she's got an empire. She's got, I don't know what to say. She's got an empire, but I'm going to let her talk a little bit about herself and then tell us what your class is going to be about.
Of course. Hello. Thank you, Feminista Jones, for having me. It is an honor to be in such good company. I'm just going to say that to begin with. I'm bringing you greetings from my parents' house in California. I took my first flight since the pandemic. And so I'll be teaching my class from California, but I'm really excited to share with you what we'll be talking about, which is how to build self-confidence. My personal mantra is don't wait on your weight to live the life you want. And once Spirit gave me that, it has become the North Star for a lot of my work. And that work has included fashion blogging and becoming co-founder of the CurvyCon. The CurvyCon is a plus size fashion convention that happens during New York Fashion Week. We are currently on hiatus due to the pandemic, but that gives me a lot of time and space to talk in spaces like this, which means a lot to me. So thank you, Feminista Jones, for having me. One of the things that I talk about, if you're going to take my class, if you want to get a head start, my TEDx is called How to Build Self-Confidence. It's got over 500,000 views at this point. And one of the things I say in the TEDx is that there's a Harvard study that talks about how confidence is the combination of the thoughts we think and the actions we take. And there's so many times I know in my own life that I'd be thinking these thoughts and thinking these thoughts. And for me, it was my weight that was the confidence block. For somebody else, it might be your complexion. Maybe you think you're too dark or too light or too this or too that, not rich enough, not smart enough. I don't know what it is for you, but the things that I have used to use your words, Feminista Jones, liberate myself from my own chains that were really all in my mind, has come from the self-confidence work that I've done. So for me, that's mostly been rooted in my body identity, but I have learned to take the strategies and methods that I used to break myself out of that and wear a two-piece on the beach and, you know, serve the looks and do the things, right? Those same strategies help me to quit my job, to get out of bad relationships, to level up in other ways. So my desire would be that if you take my class, that you walk away understanding how to work yourself into confidence in different areas of your life. So I hope to see you. I'm excited to chat.
That is going to be so amazing. And I think what's really important, and why I think it's important that there is a Black woman leading that kind of thing, because we are the least honored, the least respected, the least appreciated, the least valued. And everywhere we turn, we are getting messages that we are not good enough. And so to have a Black woman with darker skin, with like natural hair, who has, you know, been a larger woman or what have it situation, all these things that society decides make you less valuable, to have this kind of woman come and be like, but no, right? I think that is so important for people to experience and to see. And again, where we're talking about when we need something done, when we need to learn, there is a Black woman that can do this. And so we get all the kitschy fads and things like that from, you know, these Eurocentric perspectives and all this toxic positivity, whatever, but we need the real. And I think what you're touching on is so important. And I think for a school like this, to just be able to have a session where people can really tap into that side of themselves and liberate and stimulate that part as well is super important. So I'm really grateful to you for being here. And that is just amazing. Okay. And I think we have one more person in our studio. Again, shout out to Anoa Changa, who is recovering and resting. And we love you so much. But I'm going to bring in this woman. I don't even, gosh, what do I even say? And it's so weird because I can say so much about every single person here and we'll just be here all day. But I could not do this without talking about technology and STEM and STEAM and those kinds of things, because Black women are intricately involved in this industry and are not recognized, not honored, not acknowledged. And I wanted to bring a sister in who I've been watching her she's really taking over this space. The founder of the Hue Tech Summit. And it's like, it's even your branding, it's all shades of brown and it's just fantastic. My Nigerian sister from another mother and another father, but that's okay. We're both here in Philly. Jumoke, please tell everybody who you are and what your class is going to be about, because this is an honor. I just want to say, for everybody that has signed up for this class, this is an honor to be able to take this class with this in-demand woman who stays busy.
Yes. First of all, let me just say thank you to you for your vision and your execution and for bringing all of these brilliant minds together. I've never participated in anything like this, and I'm just really excited about what's going to be accomplished through this summer school. So thank you for that. And the intro. So yeah, I'll be teaching STEAM Gems, a look at the brilliance and ingenuity of women from the continent of Africa to the diaspora. And basically what we'll be covering is just that. But to start, I'll tell you a little bit about my background. As Feminista shared, I'm of Nigerian descent, first generation American. And I didn't really have a lot of experience with like computers or tech or any of that prior to getting my formal education. So I'm a New Yorker too, that came, raise the roof right, that ended up in Philly through college. So I went to Temple University, and it was really there that I kind of got my taste wet with like computers and technology. And long story short, I graduated and immediately went to work in the tech space, you know, during a time where there just wasn't a lot of women, there weren't a lot of women of color. There just wasn't. And for me, I started out as an application developer and then moved into different roles, systems analyst, project manager, before becoming an independent contractor and like consulting. So consulting. And then what I realized one day was that I'm in a position to be what I needed back when I started. And because I'm now in this space, and I just know that for me, I just didn't have a clear vision for what I would ultimately end up doing as this like young Black coder. I just didn't know, like, what am I aspiring to be? Like who, what, where, what? And I couldn't visualize it, and I need visualization. So with that, and just a number of other things, I started paying attention to what I was hearing from one of the previous administrations about the need for more girls who code, for more women to enter the STEM fields, et cetera. And at that time, I was actually trying to move away from tech and IT. I was thinking about moving back to New York. Like I just went through all the things, but then again, I had that epiphany, and I just realized that, wow, like they're looking for women with my background, and that there was more that I could do. I started going to tech conferences, and I just saw that there wasn't a lot of representation there. So I started speaking. I started submitting to speak. And then I created this community called the Tech Women Network, which is not specific to women of color. It's diverse and it's global. But through my leadership and because of my visibility, I started attracting more women of color. And I was just like, yo, where have you guys been? Because all this time I've been in this space, I haven't seen you. And come to find out, this woman has been in tech 10 years. This person has been in tech 15 years. I'm like, why don't I see you? So I decided to create something called the Hugh Tech Summit, where women could come and we can talk about tech. We could talk about the trends. We could talk about how much we should be getting paid. We could talk about, what are the opportunities that exist. So from that, the very first one coined the mantra, like, no more hidden figures, like, come forth, be seen, be heard. And the conference has also now become a platform for first-time speakers, because one of the other things that I realized is that a lot of us tend to be introverted. So that's one of the reasons why we're not going for those opportunities to speak, to do TED Talks, which I haven't done yet, to just take advantage of all the opportunities. So through this course, my goal is to shine a light on the contributions of women in science, technology, engineering. I included arts and math. There's just brilliance through time, through continents, and I want to just share about 10 of them.
I love that so much, and I feel like I'm going to learn a lot from that class. Thank you so much, Jumoke. Oh my God, I'm just so honored. I'm just so honored to have everybody that you have heard from today. This is a dream come true, and I don't even know what to say. Okay, so we have had some questions come up that I wanted to address directly that I will let people know. Okay, one, check your email every day. The emails that we are giving out, like if you got this, then you got the emails. We are sending out emails based on your registration emails. If you registered for classes, that's how we're communicating with you. Check your emails every day. We are sending out the links to your classes the morning of your classes. So don't worry about it. You'll get it. If you don't get an email by 12 o'clock, please let us know. I've already scheduled all the emails to go out, but if you don't get it by 12 o'clock, please email support@sankofasummerschool.com, and we will try to figure out what's happening and make sure that you get your information. Let's see what else. Oh, everything will be done on Zoom. As I put in the email, some teachers will be more conversational, some will have more lecture style, some will want you to wait for your questions until the end, some will welcome during the time. Really just kind of go into the space and allow the teachers to kind of let you know how they prefer to do that and respect that. We do have feedback forms. You should have received a link to it, but the teachers will also post them in your class chats. Feedback is so important to us because, again, this is the inaugural Sankofa Summer School. I want to do this every single summer and just continue to grow, continue to expand. And my hope next year, considering how everything is going with this pandemic and that things hopefully are calmed down by then, I want these folks that are going to be teaching to be able to host these classes in their cities. And then while also streaming. So if you're in Los Angeles, if you're in Dallas, wherever, if there's a Sankofa Summer School course being taught, you can go attend it in person while we also stream and people can can subscribe online and do that. But I want to continue this every single year for years to come. I was inspired to do this by the current PhD program that I'm in. I should probably all tell you about my class. I'm not teaching the STEAM Gems class, so I am going to stop that. I am teaching Queering Revolution, 20th Century Black queer women, activists, and agitators. Why am I teaching this? I'm very, very much invested in the expansion of Africology and Africana studies to be more queer inclusive. And so if I'm going to be doing a Sankofa Summer School, I feel like I should make sure that we are including queer people and queer women. I am focusing on queer women, but I want to make sure that we're having this conversation about queer identity. And nobody, I think that we have a lot of heteronormativity, cisnormativity within our community spaces. And I'm challenging that for the people that call themselves Afrocentric but are queer phobic. Doesn't work. Queerness and queer identity is essentially African. And for those who say that it is not compatible with being African, they're absolutely wrong. So I'm teaching this class to show how queer women have really pushed forward the fight for liberation and freedom. So that is my class that is actually being taught tomorrow. It's sold out. I look forward to seeing all of you there. What is the other class? Yeah, so you get your Zoom link via email the day of your class. We want you to fill out your feedback. It's super important that you all share about this on social media. Use the hashtag Sankofa Summer School. Why is that important? Because we are looking to get more support going forward for the next years. We relied heavily on donations of individuals, but we would love to get sponsorship from larger companies and organizations to continue this going on. So the more you share about it, the more you share your excitement, the more you talk about it, we can get those numbers up, those metrics up, those impressions up, because all that matters in this day of social media and all that stuff that I kind of hate so much, but it is part of it. So we need you to do it. So please be sure to use the hashtag Sankofa Summer School. Each day for the class that you are attending, you will get a unique hashtag for that class as well. The refund policy, it was very clear in your stuff early on, but if it's not clear, you can get a refund for up to 7 days before your class begins. So if your class is this week, it's too late to get a refund. However, you can get a refund. If you did get a package, you'll get a partial refund. So if you ordered 5 classes and you need to cancel one and you want a refund and it's the last one, you can get a refund for that up to 7 days in advance. But I don't think you all want refunds. You all want to be here and support this program. So we look forward to it. I'm trying to think of any other questions that have come up for us. Oh, like afterwards. So after this, our classes will be available to all of you. If you paid for a particular class, you will get the link to that class. You will get the cloud, the saved version of it. So say you got the 3-class bundle and you're coming to my class, you're coming to Dr. Baldwin Clark's class, you're going to Evelyn's class, but you can't make Evelyn's class. You can only do the other 2. You will get the link to her class so you can watch it later. And even if you did come and say you came in late, you missed part of it, you'll be able to see it afterwards, okay? After we are done with the whole program, we will have the downloads available for people to purchase online and to continue to support the program. So we ask that you not share your personal link or your personal download with other people. We are trying to make sure that we can use that to generate funding for future Sankofa Summer Schools and to support, again, the work of these brilliant women that are that you have met today. I don't think there's any classes. I don't see any questions from the comments. We appreciate you all for tuning in. This will also be emailed to everybody in case you missed it. I want to thank the teachers once again for coming out tonight. And we are going to have such an amazing, amazing program over the next 3 weeks. We are so happy that you are joining us. We had like 65 unique students register for this this program, which I thought maybe we'd get 20 or 25. So I'm very excited and looking forward to everything. So I will say goodnight, and we look forward to having a wonderful, wonderful time with you all. Okay, take care.